The options for people that are going through a divorce, as far as keeping the home, name who's on the home, who's not.
Yeah. So, I mean, divorce, it's always complicated, right? No one necessarily wants to be there at times, but unfortunately, it does happen sometimes. So, let's start with like the best case scenario, very amicable. Both are getting along. We're having a mutual departure here. And let's say one spouse wants to keep the house. And let's say the reason for that is a 3% rate, or maybe they don't even work. Maybe they were the stay-at-home parent or the parent that was not working, they might not qualify for a house now because they don't have income. So maybe it's in the best interest for that spouse to keep that house. And so, how we can do it is if the other spouse can qualify for a mortgage, withholding both debts, we can work with them, secure both their houses before it gets all messy with marital agreements and court orders and all of that. So that's one option where a spouse can stay in a house that would not originally qualify for a loan while helping the other spouse get in their home. So at least both of you have a safe environment for your families. Depending if you have kids, it's a better environment for everybody. And it makes the rest of the process a lot easier for the attorneys and everybody involved because you're not scrambling. Where am I going to live? Especially in this
Yeah.
environment where rent is expensive. It's not $600.
And now, when is the best time to reach out to your lender? Is it when you're getting close to having your settlement agreement, or when should you reach out?
Yeah, so always, 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 we're gonna, whenever we have life changes, whether it's jobs, divorce, etc., it is best to talk to your lender first. One, they're gonna keep all your information confidential. They're not telling anybody. We're kind of under oath that your information is private. What we can do is help you structure that loan, whether it's helping both people keep a house or how we structure the departure, right? Have the marital agreement, court order, and set a timeline to set up both people to be successful once the divorce is finalized. And there's many ways we can structure that depending on what type of employment someone has. If they're going to have child support or alimony, we can factor these things in and come up with a solution instead of somebody starting out with the attorney, settling everything, thinking that this is going to set them up for success, only to find out they're heartbroken that now they go to the lender and they might have to wait 2 years or other
I had to sell the
circumstances have
house and they didn't
changed.
want to. I think, going through a divorce myself, I think too, it's important, like, because I know that feeling sometimes you're like, embarrassed isn't the right word, but you just don't want to tell anybody. Like, you're going through a really rough time. But it is really important that you talk to, if you want to keep the home or you want your spouse to be able to keep the home, like, get a lender involved right away because they will help you come up, again, creative solutions to make that happen.
And some of those options, like we talked about keeping the house with the low rate, some of the options are we refinance one of the spouses, and yes, the rates are higher today than they were 2 years ago. And then the other spouse is free to go buy a house and they don't have that debt against them
Hmm.
while you are married and actively working through your court arrangement. Because Milwaukee or Wisconsin as a whole has a 6 month waiting period before a divorce can be finalized. So if we can refi a spouse today, you are able to then go and buy a house immediately and not have to qualify holding two mortgages.
Right.
So it's just one of the strategies that might speed up that 6 month timeline because 6 months is the minimum. Sometimes it takes longer than that, depending on the children's situation and everything else.
Yeah, and one of the things that can make it grow longer is if you don't have an agreement on the house. So if you get your lender involved early, that can really make the whole thing. I think it's a big peace of mind thing too, because I think people going through the divorce a lot of like, where am I going to end up? Can I live somewhere? What about my kids? Are they going to have to be bouncing around? Do I have to move my kids? And I think it's a really early peace of mind you can get by starting getting these balls in place for your home and talking to your lender.